Hello friends, my name is Nivesh Pandya. I'll be explaining you my code for facial recognition and detection. So the whole concept for facial recognition has been divided into three phases. First phase is detection and data set. So in that we'll gather data. The next phase is training on our data set, and the third phase is recognition based on our trained data. So there are four files which I have, which is detection.py, dataset.py, trainer.py, and recognition.py. So let's start with detection.py. So detection.py, in that will first include some Python libraries called NumPy and OpenCV. After that, after getting that, we'll use OpenCV's cascade classifier method to provide it a predefined frontal face default XML, which is already present on web. Once that instance is there, we'll use OpenCV to open up our video cam. After starting our video cam, we will set the frame size of 640 cross 480. After that, we'll create an infinite while loop. In that, we'll start the webcam to read all the instructions. Once that is done, we'll convert the image which we are getting into grayscale and provide it into face cascade, which is uh, the XML cascade variable which we have done previously. We'll use a method called detect multi-scale image based on the grayscale image which we have given, the scale factor of 1.2 with minimum neighbors of 5 and mean size of 20 by 20. After providing this information, whatever the information we get, will execute a for loop on it, create a rectangle of on the image with the x and y coordinates and the height and width of that. Once that is given, we'll just create a rectangle on it and just execute it. So this is our detection. In this, we'll just be able to detect our faces. The next file is dataset.py. In this, we'll again insert all the records which we will be detecting and saving it into database. So what we do is create the webcam, again instance of 640 cross 480 bits. After that, we'll again use the frontal face default XML, which is provided by OpenCV to say that this is the face detector. We have a method called add_person in which we'll create a database connection, and uh, if the ID username, if it's already present, we'll just update the record instead of creating a new record. If the ID which we have provided is not present in the database after running this query, we'll just create a new record based on all the information we have given, ID, name, and the age. Once we execute this will be able to add a new person and new entry to our database. As we start the process, we'll ask some basic questions called what is the username, what is the user ID, and what is the age of that person, and then pass along all these three information to the add_person method which we have earlier seen. After that, we will create an infinite while loop and start the webcam to read the image, and uh, once the image is read, we'll convert the OpenCV, use convert color to grayscale, convert that image to a grayscale. Once that grayscale image is done, we'll execute a for loop on that and get x, y, width and height of the frame, and we'll just execute this and try to capture all the faces. Uh, so this program will run and capture 30 dataset values, and as soon as we either do an escape or we make 30 images of that particular user, it will exit out, and it will destroy the cam session, and it will also destroy any open windows for that Python session which we have executed. The next thing is training the dataset which we have already gathered. So I have here like some basic users images. This will be the basic images. The other thing is the trainer.py. In this we include a few more libraries called import OS and also PIL, which will be able to train that this image is for this person. So we create two variables called recognizer and detector. So recognizer is a function, is the value returned from the function called lbphc face recognizer dot create. So it will create a recognizer variable, and then the cascade XML will be used to create a variable called detector. So we have a method called get images and labels. So what this method is doing is we stored the dataset functions in a particular format, which is user.1.1. So dot one specifies the ID, and the last portion recognizes how many images we have saved, how many instances of that image is saved. So for that, what we'll use is the image path, which is the whole path of the directory. Then we'll execute this whole path and get each image out of it, and after getting that image, we'll just be getting the image section out, which is open image, and then converted it into a grayscale using this L variable, L parameter. After that, we'll convert the whole image into an array called using the numpy array method, and using a int8 format. We also need the ID. So ID is again spreading out the user.1.1 and getting the one ID using this code line. We'll just split that. After that, we'll use the detector, which is the cascade function which we had, and run a detect multi-screen and pass in the num array which we have created to that, and that is stored into a faces variable. Then after storing faces variable, we'll just execute a for loop on it, and face sample is a empty array. In this, we'll append all the faces which we have recognized, and also append all the IDs which we have into an IDs array. Once that is there, we'll just return all those, both the values with faces as well as the IDs from this function. So going through the function, when we execute this this trainer.py, will generate this method, will execute this method and get faces and IDs from it. Once we get that, we'll run the recognizer object which we have saved earlier from this method function call, and run a train method on it and pass the faces, also the ID array. Once we do that, we'll be able to create a trainer.yml function, which is to save all the information of training dataset. Once this information is saved, we'll exit out of this function, and then we can move on to the next file called recognition.py. So this recognition.py, we include the files again, OpenCV, NumPy, OS, and also the database SQLite. The first variable which we stored is recognizer, similarly which we have done in trainer.py function. Then the next thing is we'll run the recognizer.read function from this object which we have stored, and pass the trainer YML which we have previously stored from executing the previous function. After that, we'll also get the face cascade value, passing the XML default XML, and we have a function called get person profile. In this function profile, what we'll do is pass in the ID which we want to recognize, and once we run this, we can get all the information based on the ID which we provided from our database, and get the profile from that ID. In here, we again open our webcam video capture and set the width and the height of that particular cam. Once we get that, we'll also provide a minimum window size for our face to be detected. We'll run a while loop, infinite while loop, in which we again pass in the read function to read all the information from our webcam, and convert the image into grayscale. Also get the faces out of that grayscale by providing the running it against the detect multi-scale function. Once we get the faces back, we'll create a rectangle around on the face which we are detecting. We also try to get the confidence score based on the predict function which we have from recognizer. Uh, Next thing is getting the profile by passing the ID to the get person profile from database. Once we get the profile back, we run it against the confidence score and check if the person's confidence score is less than 100. If we have that, then we'll provide the name from that profile and get the ID from the profile and also the confidence score and put all those on the webcam image. Once we do that, we'll just show this image which we have modified, and that's it. We'll exit out based on the escape key. Also, once we exit out, we release the cam and destroy all the windows.